Hello, third grade, and welcome to lesson 4-1. In this chapter, we're going to work on relating multiplication and division and learning our different multiplication and division facts. Now, we've already done a lot of work with multiplication. Now we're going to see how it relates to division. Just like we talked about addition and subtraction being inverse operations or opposites of each other, multiplication and division are also inverses of each other. Let's go ahead and watch our video for this lesson before we begin our notes.
There are enough drums for a very large marching band.
How can multiplication facts help you divide? Think about this question during the lesson. This array can show the relationship between multiplication and division. How does this array show multiplication? This array has 3 rows of 10 drums, so it shows the multiplication equation 3 times 10 equals 30. There are 30 drums in all. How does this array show division? This array has 30 drums in 3 equal rows, so it shows the division equation 30 divided by 3 equals 10. There are 10 drums in each row. What other multiplication and division sentences could you write based on arrays? A fact family shows how multiplication and division are related. What is the same about the 4 number sentences? They all use the same numbers, 3, 10, and 30. What is different? 2 of the sentences are multiplication sentences, and 2 are division sentences. Also, the numbers in each sentence are in a different order. So, a fact family is a group of related facts using the same numbers. What are the parts of the division sentences? The parts of a division sentence are dividend, divisor, and quotient. What is the definition of each of these parts? The dividend is the number of objects being divided. The divisor is the number by which another number is divided. The quotient is the answer to a division problem. Remember, a product is the answer to a multiplication problem. What do you notice about the product and the dividend in these equations? They are the same number. Why are they the same? The product and the dividend show the total number of objects. You now know how to relate multiplication and division facts.
All right, now that we've finished with our video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of our notes before we get into our guided practice question. Now, we learned that multiplication and division are opposites or inverses of each other. So what we're going to do when we go through our notes is first we're going to get down some of our important vocabulary words. So we put our title at the top, relate multiplication to division, and we wrote down some important vocabulary words that we need to keep in mind while we go through our lesson. Now, we talked about a fact family. A fact family, we said, is a group of related facts that use the same numbers. So I gave you a different set of facts than what you had in the video, just to show you it in a different way. So I used 3, 5, and 15, and I drew them over here in my little fact family house. So you can draw your little house where your fact family lives. There's a door. Here's your little windows. There's your fact family house chimney. Now, usually our biggest number when we draw our fact families goes on top, and the smaller parts go on the bottom. So if I have 3, 5, and 15, I know 3 times 5 is equal to 15 because I know my 3's facts and I know my 5's facts. I also know, because of the commutative property, that I can switch the order of my factors. I know that 3 times 5 is 15. I know I can take it and I can flip it. And I can say 5 times 3 is also 15. So we have our factors over here, and we have our product. Now, this is related to division the same way addition and subtraction are related. They're opposites of each other. With division, what you start with is your whole number, what you're going to divide it into, and what your answer is. So just like 3 times 5 is 15 and 5 times 3 is 15, I can say 15 divided by 3 equals 5, and 15 divided by 5 is equal to 3. So 15, if I break it up into 3 groups, is equal to 5. So 3 groups, 15 broken into 3 groups, there's 5 in each group. If I have 15 and I break it into 5 groups, there will be 3 in each group. So you see over here, with multiplication, we switched our factors and our answer stayed the same. With division, we were able to switch the divisor and the quotient, and our answer stayed the same. And we're going to go through and review the meaning of those words again. So you always start with your whole number with division. Always, always. The number that you have, the total that you have, that's called your dividend. You divide it into a certain number of groups and you find out how many is in each group. So notice that all 4 of these facts use the same numbers. They all use 3, 5, and 15. They're all related facts, which makes them a fact family. So if you're looking at it in your fact family house, you know 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. 15 divided by 5 is equal to 3. When you're using a fact family, you have all of the answers right away. All you have to do is make sure you're putting your numbers in the correct order. Now let's go over some of these definitions. So the dividend is the number you're going to divide. It's your whole number. And this is usually the biggest number when you're writing an equation and you're working with dividing whole numbers. It's usually your biggest number. So in this equation that we have up here, 15 is my dividend. When I have 15 divided by 3 equals 5 and 15 divided by 5 equals 3, 15 is my dividend because it's my whole number, my big number that I'm starting with. Now the divisor is the number that you are going to divide by. So if you take a look at the examples, let me get in here a little bit closer for you guys so you're able to see the colors more clearly. Your divisor is the number that you will divide by. It's the number you write after that division sign. So over here, I know that my divisor over in this one is going to be 3 because 15, I'm dividing it into 3 groups. It's going to equal 5. Or in this number sentence, my divisor is going to be the 5. 15, I'm dividing it into 5 groups. It's going to equal 3. So your divisor is the number that you're going to break it apart into. How many equal groups? The number that you will divide by. And finally, the last part is your quotient. Now, quotient is the answer to a division problem. Remember, we talked about the product being the answer to a multiplication problem. The sum is the answer to an addition problem. The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. And now you know the quotient is the answer to a division problem. It's the number that you get after you divide. So if I have 15 divided by 3 equals 5, 5 is my quotient right here. If I use the other fact, 15 divided by 5 equals 3, 3 would be my quotient here. Now, one interesting thing, usually we'll have 4 facts like this, 2 multiplication, 2 division facts that go with our fact family. There are some times where you only have 2 facts instead of 4 facts. And this happens when you have your factors, when you multiply, when they're the same number. So 2 times 2 is 4, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Even if I switch these, it's still written the exact same way, right? You still have 2 2s over here. You still have the 2 2s over here. So in this particular instance, in these kinds of situations where you have a double of a number, you're going to end up with just 2 facts. Now let's go ahead and take a look at your guided practice questions. Your first guided practice question asks, bring over our book, says, look at the fact family on the previous page for 3, 10, and 30. What do you notice about the products and the dividends? Now remember, the product is the answer to a multiplication problem, and the dividend is our whole number that we're going to divide or break apart. So let's take a look at this. So our product, these are our products, and these are our dividends. Now, just like we saw in our short video that we just watched, the product and the dividend is always going to be the same number because we're working in a fact family. So for number 1 in your guided practice, when it's asking you, what do you notice about the product and the dividends? I say the product and the dividends in a fact family are the same. Now let's take a look at number 2. It says 4 times 6 equals 24. Is 4 times 6 equals 24 part of the fact family for 3, 8, and 24? Explain. Now, what did we learn about fact families? Let's go back and take a look at our notes. Fact families are a group of related facts that use what? They use the same numbers. So when you go ahead and take a look at your guided practice question number 2 over here, here we have 4, 6, and 24. But over here we have 3, 8, and 24. So stop and think, are these part of the same fact family? We know from our notes that these are not part of the same fact family. So we also need to explain. So 6 times 4 equals 24 is not part of the same fact family. That uses 8, 3, and 24 because fact families need to use all the same numbers. So I wrote it out. I put in my numbers. I gave an explanation. I explained using the facts that I know that these are not related. They are not part of the same fact family. Now it says in numbers 3 to 5, use the relationship between multiplication and division to complete the equation. So let's take a look at what we have for number 3. Number 3 says 3 times 7 is equal to 21. 21 divided by 3 is equal to a number. So this is a fact family over here. So you can draw it out if you like. We have our 3, we have our 7, and we have our 21. Now, if you know this fact is true, you know you can flip it. You can do the inverse to find your division. So if 3 times 7 is 21, 21 divided by 3 is going to equal your third fact over here. That's going to equal 7. Use your fact families. When you have a fact family, you have all the answers all the time. Let's take a look at our next question. Let's take a look at number 4. For number 4, we can see that it says 18 divided by 2 equals 9. And then our next fact says 2 times a number is equal to 18. Now, if we know that 18, when you split it into 2 equal groups, you're going to have 9 in each one of those groups. So again, if you like, you can draw your fact family. So we have our big number on top, 18 and 2 and 9. So if we know 18 divided by 2 is equal to 9, 2 times 9 is going to equal 18. So you multiply the smaller numbers by each other to get the bigger number. You divide the big number by each of the small numbers to find the other small number. Remember, when you have a facts family, you have all of the answers. And let's take a look at your last question for your guided practice. Number 5 says 2 times 10 is equal to 20. And then 20 divided by 2 is equal to a number. So just for fun, we will draw our fact family over here one more time. So our big number is 20, and our two small numbers are 2 and 10. So if 2 times 10 is equal to 20, 20 divided by 2 is going to equal the last number that I have available to me in that fact family, which is 10. And we know that 20, when you split it into two groups of 10, when you split it into two groups, you have 10 in each group. All right, so that's it for your fact family notes. Remember, when you're going through them, make sure you're checking your facts, make sure you're checking your multiplication before you write out a fact family to make sure that you have all of those numbers correct. Make sure you get your notes. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day, third grade. Take care. Bye-bye.